More, let's bring in Republican Congressman Andy Biggs of Arizona. He sits on the House Judiciary Committee. He is a member of the Conservative Freedom Caucus. Sir, let's start with the questions at hand. What do you make of them? Where do you think they came from? You know, do you think, do you question the veracity of any of them? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's not surprised that they've been leaked. Obviously, I mean, things that have been leaking from Robert Mueller. His ship is a sinking ship because it's full of leaks. So that doesn't surprise me, and it doesn't. I think they're probably the real questions that Mr. Mueller wants to get at. And what's problematic for me is this shows that he has gone clearly outside the channels of what he was supposed to be looking at. He is no longer looking at Russian interference in the election, that there was some kind of a conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russians. He's looking for anything. He's investigating President Trump. He's not investigating a crime. And so that's why you've got all the mens rea or the culpable middle state questions that are in there that are left wide open, because what he's trying to do is find out if President Trump is going to come in and say, well, I knew this, or I thought this, or I intended this. That's important if you're going to try to set up a crime, and, because you have to have that state.
These are coming out of Mueller's team. I mean, what would their motivation be for tipping their hand and leaking the questions?
Well, I think on one hand, he's got to convince the people that support him that he's doing something and that he's on to something. And this makes it look like he's at least going to be going after obstruction of justice. And so he's trying to assuage, I think, even the folks within his own supporters who might be saying, look, you know, we've been going on a long time. We better get something done. And that's what happens, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, although to that point, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but no. Adam Schiff is somebody who doesn't feel that way, who didn't feel bolstered by these questions. Listen to what he had to say.
I want this special counsel to be looking at the issue of money laundering. Those questions are not included. Does that mean that the special counsel is observing the red line the president has tried to draw? In my view, the president is not permitted to draw a red line.
So, Congressman, not everybody who's behind the counsel was happy with these questions.
Right, and I agree with that, but I think even what Adam is asking for, he's asking for questions about money laundering. That's outside the channels that Mr. Mueller was supposed to be looking at, and that's getting to the whole thing. They want the people who want to bring President Trump down. They're willing to go wide and broad to investigate anything, and that's why they're investigating him. They're not investigating the crimes that they were asked to investigate.
So you're a member of the House Freedom Caucus. The caucus drafted articles of impeachment against Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General. What was the point of that, and do you think it'll get any traction?
Well, I think that's what I would call the last option. I mean, what we've looked at is, and the things that we've been, well, you and I have been discussing. Mr. Mueller is way outside the bounds. Mr. Rosenstein is supposed to be overseeing him. Mr. Sessions is so far removed from running the DOJ that it really is bothersome. And I think we look at it and we say, well, this is, maybe it's aspirational, maybe it's a point of discussion internally, and I don't think it's ready to move, certainly anytime soon.
Are you afraid of the backlash that might come from this?
Well, you know, we get backlash over virtually everything the Freedom Caucus does. So yeah, there'll be backlash here for sure. But I mean, the bottom line is people are tired of watching the Department of Justice and the things that we've discovered with the DOJ and the FBI at the highest levels, where there appears to be corruption for political purposes to gain and control the presidential election. I think people expect us to do something in Congress, and that includes the investigation. I think it asks for maybe sometimes you have to come in and say maybe we should impeach somebody.
You know, I mean, no matter who you blame for it, a lot of Americans have lost faith in, you know, in the Department of Justice in terms of not being political and worrying about that. Our criminal justice system has been politicized and used for political gain. How do you think you restore the faith of the American people now?
Well, I think one thing that would go a long way is to remove the people that have been miscreants there. I mean, people like Rod Rosenstein, who's been at the hub of the spokes of everything, going all the way back to the Uranium One and the email of Hillary Clinton. I mean, these people say there's two sets of justice. If you're elite and Washington connected, you're going to get a different treatment than you are if you're out in the field. You look at, I mean, what happened to Cheryl Mills, when she was the attorney for treated with kid gloves and gets to basically control the process. But if you're Mr. Cohen representing former private attorney to Mr. Trump, you're out of luck.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate